Hello, I'm Alexey Leontyev and I'm a faculty in the chemistry department at NDSU. I teach organic chemistry classes and supervise graduate students who are teaching organic chemistry labs. And I do chemistry education research, and in the following slide, you will see three major lines of inquiry that shape my research agenda. The first is assessment of organic chemistry knowledge. Here we are looking at the evidence that students develop understanding of certain concepts. And this evidence can come from the variety of sources. For example, from response patterns to concept inventories, which are multiple choice tests. Or this evidence can come from the depth of connections that students make in answers given to a specific prompt. The second area of my research is a meta-analysis of instructional innovations. There are multiple instructional innovations that recently became very popular. For example, flipped learning or use of learning assistants or course-based research experiences. And as a consequence of that interest, there are multiple research studies that report the effectiveness of those instructional innovations. And when multiple studies exist, we can combine their results in a quantitative way using a meta-analysis and assess presence, magnitude, and variation of the effect of these innovations on student learning. And the third area that I'm interested is green chemistry education. Green chemistry is the design of chemical products and processes that reduce or eliminate hazardous materials. So I'm interested in green chemistry from the curriculum development side because it also enhances the content that I teach in my organic chemistry classes. And I'm also interested in green chemistry from the assessment point of view. So where we can collect the evidence that students developed understanding and applications of certain green chemistry principles. So how do we collect data? In the research projects that deal with students' knowledge, we obtain data from students. We use multiple choice questions, open-ended questions, or interviews. There are benefits to each method. For example, with multiple choice questions, you can collect data from large samples and quickly analyze that. With interviews, you can get to the student reasoning, but the data collection process can be time-consuming. In meta-analysis, we collect data which are means, sample sizes, and standard deviations from published studies, and we analyze this data using statistical techniques. When we do data analysis, we usually start with having raw data in Excel. And for test data, we use JMetric, which is a free software designed specifically for the analysis of test data. And for statistical tests, we use SPSS software. And for meta-analysis, we use the program called Comprehensive Meta-Analysis, which is a very user-friendly software which allows you to conduct a meta-analysis and quickly visualize the results. Visualization plays an important role in understanding data. Here are two examples of visualized data from my research group. First is a forest plot for a meta-analysis. In a forest plot, each black square represents an effect size from a single study, and the line crossing it represents confidence intervals from the study. And the orange diamond at the very bottom of this forest plot represents a weighted effect size of all of the studies that were included in this meta-analysis. And you can see its value about 0.3. So the meaning of that the control group is outperformed by treatment group by about a third of a standard deviation. So the second example is an item person map, and here we plot a question difficulty and personability on the same scale. On the left, you have a typical bell-shaped curve that shows distribution of student scores, and on the right you have dots, and each dot here represents a question from a test, and the position of that dot indicates 50% probability of answering this question correctly. So from this picture you can see that was an easy test, since most of the dots are at the bottom, and two dots at the very top of that represent the most difficult questions. Okay, that's all for now. As I mentioned before, while I do chemistry education research, an important aspect of my program is data visualization. Hopefully you can appreciate visualization of data as much as I do. And if you have any questions, here's my email, and I also have a Twitter account. Feel free to follow me. Thanks for your attention.